77 people have been executed in Georgia. Larry Eugene Moon, March 25, 2003, lethal injection. Moon ambushed Ricky Callahan, who was 34 years old, as he was walking to a pharmacy to purchase headache medicine for his wife. During the confrontation, Callahan was fatally shot in the head and $60 was stolen from his wallet. Authorities also linked Moon to a number of other serious offenses. He was a suspect in the fatal shootings of Jimmy Hutchson and Thomas DeJoes, though the details about their ages remain unknown. In addition, he was connected to several armed robberies and the kidnapping and essay of a male impersonator. Legal proceedings for the other murders were unsuccessful. Even Moon's conviction for Callahan's murder had been disputed, as he and his supporters maintained that a hitman who reportedly confessed to the crime at a later date was the true killer. Moon's last meal was steak, pork chops, potatoes, okra, corn, green beans, dinner rolls, walnut ice cream, and iced tea. His last words were, "I'm innocent and I did not kill Ricky." Carl Jr. Isaacs, May 6, 2003, lethal injection. In May 1973, he escaped from a penal facility in Maryland. Accompanied by his younger brother Billy Isaacs and his half-brother Wayne Coleman, as well as a friend George Dungy, he drove south towards Florida. While running low on fuel in rural Georgia, the group spotted what appeared to be a gas pump behind a mobile home owned by Jerry and Mary Alday. Upon investigation, they found there was no pump, but the trailer was empty, prompting them to break in and burglarize the residence. The situation quickly escalated. Jerry Alday and his father Ned Alday arrived at the trailer, unaware it was being targeted. Carl Isaacs confronted them at gunpoint, ordering them inside. Isaacs shot and killed Jerry while he and Coleman together murdered Ned. Soon after, Jimmy Alday, Jerry's brother, arrived on a tractor and was also forced inside at gunpoint, where he was fatally shot by Isaacs. The horror continued as Mary Alday, Jerry's wife, arrived, followed by Chester and Aubrey Alday, Jerry's brother and uncle, who came in a pickup truck. All were forced into the home. Aubrey was taken to the south bedroom and shot dead by Isaacs, while Chester was led to the north bedroom and killed by Coleman. Both Coleman and Isaacs then essayed Mary on her kitchen table. Later, they transported her to a secluded wooded area several miles away where she was essayed again, and finally George Dungy murdered her. The perpetrators fled to Alabama, but they were captured a few days later in West Virginia in possession of guns later identified as the murder weapons and property stolen from the victims. During a documentary interview after his initial trial, Isaacs admitted to shooting Jerry, Ned, Aubrey, and Jimmy, essaying Mary, and burglarizing the trailer. These statements were later used as evidence in his retrial. Billy Isaacs, Carl's younger brother, testified against him in exchange for a plea deal resulting in a 40-year prison sentence. He was paroled in 1994.
I know I don't have a future. I might stay upstairs a couple years waiting on appeal, but I'm ready to go. If there's no other way out, which I doubt, I'd rather for them to go ahead and get it over with. That's better than make me sit upstairs and suffer and wait some more.
If you had it to do all over again, do you really honestly think that it would have turned out differently if you had anything to do about it?
Well, it'll turn out different in some ways. As far as pulling that trigger and killing them people, I believe it would happen again.
Carl Isaacs went on to become the longest-serving inmate on death row in the U.S. at the time of his execution. For his last meal, he asked for a regular institutional tray of pork and macaroni, pinto beans, cabbage, carrot salad, dinner roll, chocolate cake, and fruit punch, but he pushed the meal away. Isaacs declined an opportunity to make a final statement, but did ask for a final prayer. After the prayer, he mouthed, "Amen." James Willie Brown, November 4, 2003, lethal injection. Brenda Sue Watson had recently relocated to DeKalb County, where she worked as a dancer at a nightclub in Atlanta. It was there, on May 12, 1975, that she met James Willie Brown. The two spent the evening together at a local motel bar known at the time as the Markin Lounge. They had steak dinners, had several drinks, and danced for hours before leaving around 11 p.m. The next morning, Brenda's nude body was discovered in a remote wooded area with only her blouse pulled up over her chest and a nylon cord tied around her ankle. The scene showed clear signs of restraint as bruises and marks were found on her ankles and wrists. Evidence of SA was confirmed through abrasions, contusions, and the presence of genetic material in both her private areas and throat. The medical examiner determined that asphyxiation was the cause of death. Horrifically, her panties had been forced so deep down her throat that they were only discovered during the autopsy. When Brown was arrested, he initially denied knowing Brenda Watson, but eventually confessed to both the SA and the murder. He was later declared mentally incompetent to stand trial and was committed to a state psychiatric hospital. After years of treatment, in 1981, Brown was ruled competent, tried, convicted, and sentenced to death. However, in 1988, a federal court overturned his conviction, citing concerns about his mental competency at the time of trial. 3 years later, in 1991, Brown was retried, once again found guilty, and resentenced to death. His last meal was a foot-long chili dog with everything, French fries, a dill pickle, strawberry ice cream, and a 7-Up soft drink. He did not have any last words. Robert Carl Hicks, July 1, 2004, lethal injection. Hicks encountered 28-year-old Toni Strickland Rivers as she was speaking with her boyfriend at a payphone outside a rural grocery store. Though he had never met her, he followed her as she left, then attempted to abduct her. When Rivers managed to break free and run, Hicks chased her down, stabbed her repeatedly, and nearly decapitated her with a knife. While there was no evidence of SA, investigators found that Rivers had been stripped naked from the waist down, suggesting an intent to SA or humiliate her. Not long after the murder, Hicks' car ran out of gas and the sheriff's deputy found him walking near the scene. When detained, officers discovered a bloody knife in his pocket, later confirmed to be the murder weapon. His pants, socks, and car seat were all soaked with Rivers' blood. Inside his car, police recovered a pair of women's shorts, sandals, and a keyring engraved with the initials TR. Upon questioning, Hicks confessed, admitting that he had killed Rivers. At trial, however, he pleaded insanity, with a defense psychiatrist testifying that Hicks suffered from a mental disorder that impaired his ability to control his impulses. Despite that claim, the jury found him competent and guilty. Years later, Hicks recanted his confession, claiming that he was innocent and that the real killers were a drug dealer and another man. At the time of Rivers' murder, Hicks had already been convicted of SA and had been paroled just 9 months earlier after serving less than half of a 15-year sentence for the SA of a 16-year-old girl. His last meal was fish, shrimp, French fries, coleslaw, crescent rolls, chocolate cake, a vanilla milkshake, and a soda. His last words were, "I would like to apologize for everything I did. I'm sorry. God forgive me. Come get me, Warden." Eddie Albert Crawford, July 19, 2004, lethal injection. The 29-month-old victim, Leslie Michelle English, lived with her mother, Wanda English, at the home of Wanda's parents. The man later convicted of Leslie's murder, Crawford, was the estranged husband of Wanda's sister. On the night of Saturday, September 24, 1983, around 11 p.m., Wanda prepared her young daughter for bed when Crawford arrived at the house. He asked Wanda to go with him to a liquor store, and she agreed. During the outing, Crawford, who was visibly intoxicated, attempted but failed to buy Mary Jane before the two returned home. Once back, he asked Wanda to spend the night with him, and when she refused, he left the house. Later that same night, the two encountered each other again at another sister's residence, where an argument escalated into a physical fight. The confrontation ended with Crawford leaving, saying, "I'll fix you." Around 5 a.m., Wanda returned home to find that her daughter Leslie was missing. Wanda's father, Raymond Fuller, told investigators that he had briefly woken up sometime after 3 a.m. and saw Crawford walking through the house, but thought little of it since Crawford had often been a guest there. Another neighbor later reported seeing Crawford's car between 3:45 and 4 a.m. parked in front of the Fuller residence with its headlights on and engine running. The neighbor said Crawford returned to the vehicle about 5 minutes later and then drove away. 2 days after the abduction, Leslie's body was discovered in a wooded area, wearing only a pajama top. The autopsy revealed that she had been essayed and that her death resulted from asphyxiation. Forensic examination showed that multiple head and private area hairs found on the child's body were consistent with Crawford's, and fibers from the carpet in his vehicle matched those discovered on the victim. In the days following Leslie's disappearance, Crawford gave three conflicting statements about his actions that night. He repeatedly claimed to have blacked out but eventually admitted that he remembered driving his car with the child sitting in his lap, attempting to wake her up but she would not talk to him. He recalled getting out of the car and walking on pavement while holding the victim, then returning to the car without her, though he insisted he couldn't remember what had happened in between. For his last meal, Crawford was given a standard tray of barbecue pork, black-eyed peas, a vegetable medley, coleslaw, a roll, peach cobbler, and a grape drink. He did not eat any of it. His last words were, "There hasn't been a time in the last 21 years I wouldn't have laid down my life for little Leslie. I don't remember anything. If this will give them peace, it was well worth it." Timothy Don Carr, January 25, 2005, lethal injection. Carr, his girlfriend Melissa Burgesson, and 17-year-old Keith Patrick Young attended a party on the night the crimes occurred, where all three drank heavily and used drugs. During the gathering, Carr and Burgesson conspired to rob the victim, discussing their plan openly while under the influence. In the early morning hours of the next day, Burgesson stole the victim's car keys and convinced him to let her drive him home. Once inside the vehicle, Burgesson drove the victim, Carr, and two juveniles to a secluded area in southern Monroe County. While on the way, Carr showed one of the juveniles a large knife, whispering that he intended to kill the victim. When the car stopped on a dirt road, the victim opened the truck to look for more drugs, and at that moment, Burgesson signaled Carr to carry out the attack. Carr grabbed the victim by the hair, yanked his head back, and slashed his throat. Urged on by Burgesson, he then stabbed the victim multiple times and bludgeoned his head with a baseball bat. Afterward, Burgesson took the victim's money, while Carr and one of the juveniles dragged the dying man's body to the roadside, leaving him there to succumb to his wounds. Following the murder, Carr and Burgesson fled to Tennessee in the victim's car. Their escape came to an end after a high-speed police chase, which resulted in their capture and hospitalization for minor injuries. Once treated and placed in the back of a police car equipped with a hidden tape recorder, the pair unknowingly recorded a conversation in which Carr admitted to killing the victim. The tape was later played for the jury during Carr's trial. Evidence also showed that the knife used in the attack was later found inside Burgesson's purse, directly linking her to the murder. While Carr was sentenced to death for the brutal slaying, Melissa Burgesson was convicted and given a life sentence with the possibility of parole. Carr's last meal was 2 mushroom and Swiss hamburgers, a vanilla milkshake, a chocolate milkshake, and 2 soft drinks. His final words were, "Peace." Earlier, while still in a holding cell, he apologized for his crime and said it was time for justice to be done. Please hit that subscribe button if you like my channel. See you next time. Bye bye.